What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here at GSD Studios. First off, thank you so much for checking out today's content. I'll make this extremely fast, but I need to plug our sponsors that make this show possible. Our first sponsor is PerfectStormNow.com, by far the most effective and affordable real estate agent website and database platform in the industry. It is the system I use to sell 50 plus homes every single month. Check it out at www.perfectstormnow.com. Our second sponsor is my personal 90-day mastery bootcamp, which is, again, my personal real estate agent mentorship program where we spend 90 days together, 12 live sessions. You get daily access to me inside the program. You guys, we go so extremely in-depth. There's nothing that's incomplete about this program. You're going to get all the tools that you need to go out there and crush it inside your real estate business. Make sure to go check us out, www.90daymastery.com. You can watch in-depth videos of exactly what's covered to see if the program is for you. See all the raving testimonials we have from all of the amazing agents and clients that went through the program. So make sure to check us out, www.90daymastery.com. All right, you guys, let's jump on into today's content. What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD mode interview. Every single week, we interview top entrepreneurs, top real estate agents, and just top people out there dominating their spaces. These are people choosing to not live a life of mediocrity, but instead to go out there and create epic, big, amazing lives for themselves, for their families, as well as have a big impact on others. And that's part of the reason that they give a big chunk of their day to be here on the podcast and share with you guys what they're doing inside their business to be able to have an impact on your businesses. So guys, our guests, they got a special guest on the show today, uber successful real estate agent, team leader in Hawaii. For the last 10 years straight, they've been amongst the top 100 agents in Hawaii. What I really love is they have a unique business model compared to most real estate agents. You know, they lead from a place of contribution. They've grown their business through doing a lot of seminars, education, and it's just a unique, different approach than we see most realtors going out there and doing it. Also, what I love about our guest today is we were just having a side conversation before we hit the play button of, you know, a lot of real estate professionals and entrepreneurs, we get so caught up in the grind. We get grinding 80 hours a week that we forget to go out there and also enjoy life. And this is a real estate company owner, team leader that's figured out that I'm not a huge fan of the word balance, but he's figured out how to go out there and enjoy life, enjoy his family, as well as continue to grow his business and have record years. Also just started their first nonprofit, which we'll jump into here in the podcast. So really stoked and honored to have Dan Ihara on the show. Welcome to the show, my friend.
How you doing, brother?
Doing awesome, man. I'm excited to have you on, dude. So I know that right now is normally your surfing time with your son. So
that's right.
So I truly appreciate you being here, man. And I know how precious that time is. So it means a lot. So before we jump into you know, what you guys are doing today, because I know you got a big team that's in place now that continues to grow. You just talked about having this is going to be your biggest year yet, and you know, you just started your nonprofit. But I'm really curious always of our guest journey that led them into entrepreneurship and real estate in the first place. So we run the clocks. Like, how did all this come to fruition in the first place?
You know, everything that we do is, I believe, is led by God, and how He's created this journey for us. You know, I started in real estate in 2005, and the goal was to put food on the table. You know, my wife had a good job at a corporate bank, and I wanted to put food on the table. So I got into real estate in 2005. Prior to that, I was selling waterproof cameras around the world, traveling, and it was a great gig, though, you know, I was missing my kids. So she said, you know, you need to find a job you could stay home. So I did, got into real estate. My very first 2 months did well, got a couple of good escrows, and then I went off on my surf trip in July of 2005. Came back, really started pumping, got real busy, picked up a lot of business from our open houses. And I was just very intentful of, one, I got to learn the business, and two, I got to do the business. So everything I do was really based on a calendar, and I was really intentful on how I spent my time. again, most of our business in the beginning was really off of open houses. And then I met this one kid at an open house. It was over $1 million property, and he comes in, sand on his feet, and we're talking about surfing. We connected, created a relationship, and then about a week later, he calls me and says, "Hey, there's this lady that wants to sell her house." Well, it was my first listing, and I don't know how to take a listing. I'm just new in the business. It was a $1.3 million house on the hill, and it was a hoarder home. I mean, literally, I walked in there, Josh. I could not sit down. There was no place to sit. I don't know if you know what a trail home is. A trail home is where you have a trail from the door to the sink, to the toilet, to the bed, and everything else is stuff, right? Just stuff. So she had it on the market for a year, and she says, "Gosh, I got a great view. I don't know why my house didn't sell." I said, "I don't know either, but maybe I can help." I actually spent 6 months helping her get rid of all of her stuff. It took a 40-foot container of trash to clear out her house. I did it by myself. My wife, my mom and dad showed up. My nieces and nephews showed up. Our family just rallied around this poor lady who was going to a retirement community, and she had to pay for that retirement community in order to go there. So she was very incentivized to move forward, though she had no help. Believe it or not, that's the beginning of another business that we started called Senior Move Managers. And I didn't even know that that's why we were doing it. It took me 6 months to clear that property out. Took about a year to sell, and I was just hating life. I was like, man, this is horrible. Long story short, that grew my first year in business, did well. After the second year in business, we got into the top 100. There's 6,500 agents in our market. And we just kept growing based on picking up people at open houses and helping them transition. We were real big on providing high level of service. So we spent a lot of time getting those homes ready, because in Hawaii, these homes are old, although they're very valuable because the land's valuable. So there's a lot of deferred maintenance in these older adults. And what I found was that, and this was in 05, 06, 07, where people really didn't want to sell, but they kind of had to sell, right? These are folks that are having a life change. Someone that knew that they had to go from where their big house was, which was empty with a lot of stuff, to a retirement community. And so we rallied around those folks. We prepared those properties for sale, spent a lot of time, got good with working with vendors, got good with staging and just getting that house looking good so we could sell it. And that was very successful. My brother, around the same time, did reverse mortgages for older adults. And he told me that, my brother Percy said, he's older than me, so I didn't really want to listen to him, right? He tells me what to do all the time. And, but in this case, thank God I did listen. And he's a lot I have to thank for our success. He said to me, well, Dan, I do these seminars and these people come and I educate them. And when I educate them, then they realize it's a good route to go and they go down that route. So I said, finally, after listening to him for a month or two, I agreed. We invested $24,000 into a newspaper ad. It's called an advertorial. So I could write a whole newspaper page of information and drive people to a seminar. And it was really scary. I mean, the first time we did this, I didn't know if anybody's going to show up, right? And we weren't really into the senior market as much. So it was how to sell a home in today's market. And I was 6 months into being licensed as a realtor, and the page was called the experts page. And 6 months into being in real estate, I claimed to be an expert. Well, I did have a lot of information, but I was by no means an expert at that moment. People would come. We shared our value proposition to them clearly, and the very first seminar we had a $1.2 million client come off of that, which paid my entire year's advertising budget, ironically, to the penny. That kind of started us. We've been doing that newspaper ad for, almost 12 years now, 11 and a half years. We've been doing seminars for that long. We've probably done over 800 of them since then. And all of them are free. We don't charge a penny for it. It's purely educational. But once people come and they see the value proposition that we provide, And even to the level that we are today, it's really hard to compete with. I mean, we've branded this thing called the Complete Solution, and we've trademarked it for the United States, and now have expanded that to Los Gatos in California, and plan to expand further along the West Coast. But yeah, 2006, we started doing those seminars, did maybe about 6 or 8 a year. Started growing how to buy a home in today's market, how to sell a home in today's market. And about 2008 timeframe, we started doing 1031 exchange seminars, only in April and May. We do one. And that started being successful, although we only did it once a year for a very long time. Now we do them once a month at a bank. I'll talk more about that in a minute. In 2010, we started a company called Senior Move Managers. I'm not sure if you can see that, but yeah, that's the company. And Declutter Hawaii. Decluttering is a universal challenge for any age or any demographic. And we started Declutter Hawaii in 2010 because of this need for helping older adults. My wife and I figured, there's a need for this service, but surely we can't do it, not all the time. And it was a blessing to have my niece come over from her job to run that business. And Cynthia's done an amazing job driving that business and going forward. We've helped over 550 families already transition life. The challenge is when we get older, we start collecting stuff. Right? Yeah. We collect stuff, and that stuff never leaves because we get older, and there's deferred maintenance, and then the hoarder issues. The hoarder challenge happens really typically because of a loss of some type, right? It's a psychological need to gather things and not let things go because some things in your life have left you. And we work with psychologists, we work with case managers, and so we were the first company of its kind in the National Association of Senior Move Managers in the state of Hawaii. To date, we're the only one that's still part of that association. We have to be licensed and bonded for that. But yeah, that model had really helped us serve that older community. Around the same time, there was a new retirement community that was just trying to be built. It was ground up. It was called it's a CCRC. I'm not sure if you know what that is. It's continuing care retirement communities where they have to put an entry fee down. The entry fee is anywhere from $250,000 to $600,000, right? Where do they get that money? Well, they get it from their house, right? How do they get it from their house? Well, they got to sell it. How do you sell it? Well, they got to clear out their stuff, right? So we became the solution to that problem. This community, you had to have a buy-in. So they got a bunch of people on the waiting list, though they wouldn't put their money down because they weren't committed, because they didn't believe that they could sell their home, and they didn't believe they could get rid of their stuff. So their director met with me, and they said, hey, can you join venture with us to do these seminars? And that really launched a prototype, which is now we've mastered, a seminar called Senior Living Options. And now we do this all over the island, all over the state. I'll do 4 to 6 of these a month now, somewhere, for either churches, financial planners, wills and trust attorneys, banks, retirement communities, senior clubs, those things. And we basically come in and say, here's what life looks like as we get older. And should we be blessed to live long enough, we're going to need help. Right. So what does that help look like? Well, you have home care and home health care. Well, what does that cost? What kind of services do they provide? What does life look like if I were to live at home? And then if my home isn't the best place for me, where can I go? Right. What are my options? How much does it cost? What does life look like? What do they provide? Who's living there? What's the demographic of that community? Well, we're the experts in that. And we have clients in all these communities. We know all the directors and all the marketing people. And we've kind of owned that space of being the senior living options specialist, right? I have the state of Hawaii calling me. I have the city and county of Honolulu calling me to say, hey, there's this client needs help. We have attorneys and financial planners pretty much daily. Somebody's calling to say, this person needs help. I think you need to talk to them. And that portion is free. I don't charge for consultation at all. I'll go in and I'll consult with them. If they sell, then that's how we get paid. But if they don't sell, then I'm just coming out of my heart to say, here are some ways to look at it. Right? And then people say, well, yes, I want to go there, but how do I get there? Right? That's where Senior Move Managers comes in. Right? We have a team that comes in, and they will help you downsize, declutter, sort your things, remove them off the property, and help you pack up everything you want and take it to your new home and then unpack it for you. It's the complete solution. There's no stress. They don't even have to lift a finger. I mean, we had a guy that said, okay, you do have to lift a finger. It's this finger, and you point to what item you want. And we have an acronym called SORT: sell, offer, retain, and toss. Right? It's very simple. Right? So you only have 4 piles of stuff in your house. So tell me, what pile would you like it in? Right? And so they make that decision, and we help them through that entire process. Right? If it's sold, obviously we'll sell it for them. They get all the money. We offer it to their family or friends. The R is the retain pile. And obviously toss is we're going to throw that stuff away. Right? We really don't like to fill the landfill in our island, so we try to repurpose stuff. So there's a lot of donation houses we like to use. Our clients get that tax deduction. So that model has really helped us grow because we're the only solution, frankly. And if you look around the country, there aren't anybody. There's maybe one other gal, a friend of mine that's on the East Coast that's modeled this similar thing. But realtors don't do this, right? Because it's too much work, right? People want to put a sign on the ground, get a phone number, make a call, get a listing sign, close it, right? Well, that's not our model. Right? Fortunately, it works for us because of the price point, right? If I was in $150,000 price points, yeah, this model would be really tough. Right? Though, Senior Move Managers is its own entity that we own and run, and has really helped us to kind of corner this market on helping folks go through this challenge, right? Go through this challenge. And it's just super rewarding. I got to tell you, the guys that work for our Senior Move Management company, they don't do it for money because it's not a high-paid job, though they do it because at the end of the day, for most clients, you get a hug. I mean, what job do you leave at the end of the day and somebody gives you a hug and says, thank you so much for doing this for me, right? So it's a very heartfelt kind of role. So with Senior Move Managers and our consultation, and now we've built a listing team. We have 3 listing managers that spend all their time getting homes ready to get out on the market. Now we've created an engine to be able to produce higher numbers of listings at a higher price point and provide a higher level of service, which frankly is really hard to duplicate. I don't know if you read that book, Blue Ocean Strategies. It's how do you compete in a competitive world with no competition? Right? We have no competition because nobody does what we do. Right? We've gotten to a point where we've created, like Gary Keller says, we created a moat around our business, and it's really hard for people to penetrate that segment of the market for us. So yeah, older adults. And then what was really cool was we started getting into investors. Now, in Hawaii, all these apartment buildings that are in town, the investment buildings, $1 to $10 million apartment buildings, they're owned by older adults, right? They bought them a long time ago. They built them in the 70s. Now they got to, they don't really want to deal with it. They don't want to do property management. So last year we started High Property Management, which is a property management firm that can now service them. Right. So we just started that about 12 months ago. We have just over 100 properties we manage, and that's a part of that complete solution. So our value proposition is whether you want to buy, sell, invest, rent, or move, or declutter, we can help you. Right. I'm actually a trained CAPS certified specialist as well. CAPS is a certified aging in place specialist, and it's certified by the National Home Builders Association. And I'm trained to help people stay home. And so, people say, well, why would you want to do that? If you're a realtor, you don't make money on doing that. So that's very true. I won't make money, not yet. But at some point, that person will leave the home at some point. So now my funnel, my pipeline is much longer, fatter, and wider than ever before, because I'm touching people 2 or 3 years before they're ready to sell, right? As long as we stay in touch with them and communicate with them on a regular basis, they'll come back and use us because they know that, we spend time to care for where they're at, and we're going to help them through this process. And we have the solution to it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's powerful too, because at some point they're going to need your services, like you said. So at some point, you're going to get that sell. But just imagine that if a realtor goes in there and is helping somebody not sell their home, but keep that home and figure out a way to successfully do it that they really want. I got to imagine the referrals, that come in and from the other family members and their grandkids. I mean, it's like, most of us, we have our doctor, our CPA, our attorney, but a lot of the general public doesn't see their realtor as my realtor. It's just the real estate agent that helped them on that sell. You become that position where it's like you're their go-to person. Quick question for you with this, and I love it. There's that saying out there that the riches are in the niches, right? And you've done such a brilliant job at identifying this, identifying a need that every human being eventually is going to have, and position yourself, like you said, we don't have that competition. I know that when you started off doing these seminars, kind of started from that first listing that you took, right? And then you started doing these seminars. At what point did it really come clear to you that, hey, this is the path? I know you still do the 1031 and some other seminars out there, but at what point did you get to like, hey, this is what we really need to focus on? This is our biggest opportunity. Like, at what point did you connect those dots that you were like, hey, we're all in on this?
Actually, after the first one.
Really?
No, because, the very first seminar, we're thinking, God, is anybody even going to show up? Right? We had a room of 45 people there. And it was at a hotel. Never did this before now. And we had 45 people there. We actually did 2 seminars in the same week, right? How to sell a home in today's market. And we were blown away that people even showed up. And out of that, we got our very first listing from that seminar, from the first seminar. And again, the rewards off of our price point would paid everything off. So we said, this makes sense. So we kept doing it. And then at some point we said, you know what? After a while, people aren't going to show up. Well, that's not true. I now do, Josh, 5 to 10 seminars a month.
Wow.
Anywhere from 20 to 50 people show up every single week. Every single one of these things. And so the way I did this for Gary Keller's mastermind group, I said, you know what this really is? These seminars, this is a group listing appointment.
Yeah.
I'm doing a listing appointment for 35 people. I can touch, and I calculated actually in a year, I have 7.5 face-to-face conversations every day. Every day.
Yeah.
Because I'm gathering this many people together in a seminar. And now we hired somebody that runs those seminars for us. So she sets them up. I just show up. Basically, I show up and I speak. And even that, now we're having other people do the speaking portions of it. And what we never did before, which we were really bad at and really sucked at, was follow-up. We never did. We were just so busy. And people would call and say, hey, Dan, I met you 5 years ago at a seminar. You remember me? I go, oh, yeah, I remember you.
Yeah.
You're right. And till today, people call and say, I came to your seminar. Or I'll go to their house, and this 85-year-old lady 8 years ago had the newspaper ad that she cut out and all the information from the seminar. We had this son come in from town. He lives in California. His mom's here in Hawaii, and mom can't stay in their home. So he's going through all of her stuff. He finds our information. He says, gosh, mom must have came to your seminar. It sounds like you can help her. I mean, they don't throw those stuff away.
Yeah.
It's pretty valuable. It's kind of cool.
Yep, love it. So yeah, I mean, it's a brilliant way to leverage your time, and also it's less intrusive to people. When you have to go into their home, they feel more pressured. They're amongst a group. That's why you see a lot of companies do group interviews. Right? Because it's that less pressure on people. So I love it. So there's, I mean, I guess there's, really, if you break it down, there's four components probably to a seminar. You've got to write the ad. Mm-hmm. You've got to set up the seminar, which I want to kind of talk about how you do that, how you involve your vendors, and with that, then what is really said, because you want to educate in a powerful fashion. But then, like you said, the follow up. So in the ad, and I know you kind of hit on this briefly, but what do you say in the ad? Because I got to assume that it's kind of you got to be very strategic when you write the ads, because you want to write enough information that creates curiosity, but not too much where they're like, oh, I have all the information right here, I don't need to show up. So, how do you write successful ads to be able to fill those rooms like you do?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I know we have failed forward very well in this area. We've wrote different, because I would write them. And every single month I would write a different ad. And we're talking 12 years now, right? So I've read a lot of ads. And I found that the most successful ads, they have to give the reader a compelling reason to show up, right? So what's going to give them a compelling reason to show up? Well, typically I'll make a statement, then I'll ask a series of questions, right? Is your home too large now that the kids are gone? Is your home too much work to maintain? Have you considered other options? Do you know what your options are and how much they cost? Well, if you'd like to know, please come to attend this free seminar. Join us in a safe environment where you can get educated and start the planning process. So it's not a salesy kind of seminar, and the way we operate our business is really based on education, and people get it. They get the fact that, you can use your son or daughter to sell your home. That's okay. As long as you're educated, you're good. Because, there's enough business out there. Yeah, but one of the things that have really started to help us recently is, so in the beginning we did just the newspaper, right? Then we did mailers, and all this stuff costs money, right? So we dialed back on the mailers, and now it's really social media and email. Right. So we got about 4,000 data in our database. Everybody who comes to a seminar gets added to it. Right. Everybody who enters open house gets added to it. And so only recently have we started gathering that data. We have now a person that can gather the data and then touch it on a regular basis. And so we're getting repeat clients that have attendees that have come back. Now they're bringing their friends, and it starts to go viral after a while. So, the other thing that we found recently, maybe in the last 12 to 24 months, is I'm part of Gary Keller's group, and Gary mentioned in our mastermind, ideally you can create a membership, right? Like a Costco, right? You create a Sam's Club. You create some kind of membership where people will always, you'll be able to reach them, right? And so after that, I came back and said, you know what? Wouldn't it be cool if my membership was not mine, but was somebody else's? So I went to the banks and I pitched the seminar to the banks, and I said, question is, do you have older adult clients? They said, absolutely, right? I knew the answer. And are they ever wondering what to do? I mean, what happens when they get older? Well, I don't know. Would you like to present this information to your database? I said, well, yeah, absolutely. Okay, great. So I can do these seminars for you at your branch. How would you reach them? I guess we can send them an email. Okay, great. So they now send emails out to tens of thousands of their customers, inviting them to our seminar at their venue. So it's a safe environment. It's a bank customer coming back to a bank, and they don't even promote me. They just say the topic, which is now we do it. Two other ones, which are 1031 exchange and creating wealth through real estate. And that's the only title. So they don't know who I am. They're just coming because they want this information. So that membership has really helped us. Again, we do this for financial planners, private bankers, wills and trust attorneys. And so I'm the trusted advisor of a trusted advisor, right? And so that's just way more powerful than me picking up the phone and cold calling somebody, right? And it's worked amazingly for us.
Yep. Yep. Well, then too, yeah, you become that trusted advisor, and it's just that, right? They're like, well, if my bank that I bank with, that I give my money to, trust this guy, I mean, it immediately puts you as the expert, right? So you're not having to sell them on your expertise. So then when it comes to, vendor involvement, because, you got a lot of money going out on the ads. I mean, when it comes to the event itself, I mean, are you bringing in vendors and, do they somewhat help with the cost? Because I'm sure that they're benefiting massively of the events themselves too.
Yeah, we do. We have some vendors that come in that support us. But see, the thing is all I'm paying for is the ad that I paid for 10 years. Yeah. So I'm not paying for anything else, right? There's no other mailers going out. It's all electronic. I don't pay for a venue. Venue's free. They just buy the food. So I basically show up. Our team shows up, and so there's very low cost on that. They'll spend a couple $100, and there's always, the buffet in Hawaii. We eat a lot, so a buffet of food, and people leave happy with the information. But we feel fortunate that they've got this food as well.
Do you put free food in the ad? Do you find that helps drive people?
We actually don't.
Really?
We don't.
Okay.
Yeah, because we don't want the freeloaders. They're coming for the information.
Yeah.
When they get there, they go, we under promise and over deliver, right? They come in and say, wow, this is cool. Thanks so much. And those who have come before, they kind of know.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Love it. So then, all right. So you got your vendor partners helping with that element. So so you're paying for that ad, which it sounds like from the first one that you did, that first one pays for itself. Then the next 11 yearly, when you're doing one a month, is pure profit, right?
Yeah.
So then from there, what is on a kind of a high level scale, because I'm sure it's tough to just niche it down. So for somebody that's maybe thinking of a first-time home buyer or a regular seller that's in a different market or different niche, kind of what's the overall structure? I mean, is it just you speaking, or do you allow your vendors to come up and speak about the title process, or kind of what happens? Have you also found out like a time frame? Because I'm guessing if you had people sit there for 3 hours, it might be too long. Yeah. Walk us through that structure.
Good. Again, we failed forward and we've tried all different things. What we found is, what we want to do is we want to get sellers, right? We've tried buyer events before and they're not very successful. The buyers are flaky. Buyers are liars, they say, right? And they're flakier. And so we've tried it over the years and we just stopped doing it. The only buyers we go after are those who are doing 1031 exchanges, because those guys are motivated, right? So in regard to time, for older adults, we find 9:30 is a good time. We used to do them on the top of the hour, and then people would come in late. So we do 9:30 because the 30, they remember that for some reason. So we start at 9:30, we go to about 11:30, and then the host provides food, and then we sit down with them as they're eating. We break bread with them, we eat with them, and we talk about their situation. Tell me more about what's going on in your world. And that's how we start to really create that tighter relationship. The other thing we just really started doing, I'm a coach, and I have a team in Los Gatos that I go and coach, and I said, what, guys, we really got to be intentful. And intentful getting that appointment, because it's great to do these seminars, but the goal is to get a listing. You can't get a listing till you get an appointment. So let's be intentful. So I showed up there in the Bay Area, and I said, okay, we got to give them something. And I'm like, okay, and this is like 5 minutes before the seminar starting, right? Okay, I'm thinking through this. I'm thinking, what do I give? I said, okay, I got chocolate macadamias. Okay, I brought them from Hawaii. I'm going to do this at the end. So at the end, I said, hey, for anybody who wants to set up an appointment, I brought these chocolate macadamias from Hawaii. And everybody's eyes gleamed. They're like, just for this little thing of chocolate macadamias? We got 6 appointments that day.
Wow.
That's crazy, right? And so we started doing that back home. And in the beginning of the seminar, we'd have hydro flasks and bags out in the front. And the girl that starts it, the one that runs the seminar, says, hey, I'm sure you're wondering what these things up front and what they are prizes. And the way that people earn the prizes is at the end. If you'd like to set up an appointment, the first 5 people who do get to select one of these prizes. And that has increased our conversion ratio enormously. I mean, we got really intentful. Before we just do the seminar, and then maybe 2 or 3 months or 2 or 3 years, somebody would call back. Now we're getting appointments at the seminar or within a week. And our conversion ratio is close to 20%.
Wow.
So we're getting listing appointments, right? And the cool thing is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, do you announce that then in the beginning of?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we announce it in the beginning, and then at the end, I say, I close it and I say, your situation is private and personal, I'm sure. And if you'd like, we can sit down and talk about your situation and maybe talk about options and maybe a strategy of going forward, maybe a future plan, right? Not something that, I'm not telling you got to sell your house today. I'm just saying, hey, let's start planning for it. And you'd be shocked. People are saying, I'm ready. But I never asked the question. I never asked them, would you want an appointment until recently, in the last few months. It's pretty bizarre.
What was the conversion rate before compared to offering that gift? Would you say it's been double?
Oh, way more than double.
Wow.
Way more than we would leave the seminar thinking, oh, that was a great seminar. We have some phone numbers to call. And that's how it would end. And you know what? I wouldn't call because I got too busy. So
yeah.
And then people would call me back. Oh, I came to your seminar. It was great. I need your help. Can you come over? Yeah. Now I'm doing like 5 to 10 listing appointments a week, and just off of that stuff.
Yeah. And it doesn't sound like the prizes are like,
no.
It's not like you're giving iPads.
No,
they're not super expensive. Couple $100 an event to get 6-7 appointments.
$20. Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane. I love it.
Pretty cool.
No, that's amazing. I mean, it's such a cool strategy, and because I mean, too, there's only one of you, right? And you've, of course, now you've built this team, and you've even leveraged it out further. But it's just such an amazing way to get that many people into the room. I haven't really been strategic about doing that in my real estate business as far as the listing and buyer side, which after talking with you, I've got to get more creative with this. But we've done this on the recruiting side with agents. Right? Get 20 agents on a Friday in a room together. It might be something like 8 steps to creating success in real estate. And it's a massive value, but then at the end, it's kind of a recruiting pitch, and it's worked out really good for that. And it leverages so much time. So it's such a brilliant strategy. Yeah. Then from there, you talked about how in the beginning you were really bad with follow-up, and it's something that you've gotten better with, because the fortune really is in that follow-up. And a lot of these people are people that have some curiosity. They come, but maybe they don't have that need for 4 years. They might come back, and then, so then what are you, when you collect the information, like what kind of stuff are you sending? How frequent? I mean, is it a weekly email that's going out? Are you guys still calling? Like, what does the follow-up look like? Yeah,
basically they get a weekly email, and they're touched every 3 months by a phone call. So the person that we've hired, Irene, she runs all of our seminars. She's done an amazing job. She's getting 2 to 4 appointments a week just on follow-up. And these are people that came, 5 years ago, right? And now they're ready. But had she not have called, I would not have known. And they could have bumped into their brother's cousin's friend who's a realtor, right? And she's booking appointments. So the follow-ups, like we all know, is the key. And I'm just really bad at it. So I hired somebody to solve that problem.
Yep. Love it. So I know that you and your wife just recently started your first nonprofit, which is so cool. I don't hear a lot of successful real estate agents going that route, and kind of giving back to the industry that's changed our lives. And when I saw that you guys did this, I just thought it was such a really cool thing that you're doing. So kind of walk us through what the nonprofit is and what inspired you so much to start it.
What inspired us was Gary Keller, at one of our masterminds says, everyone's here successful. Now it's time to give back. His triangle of think $1 million, earn $1 million, net $1 million. And then on the top of the triangle now is give $1 million, right? And he says to us, you guys are nothing until you give $1 million. Show me when you give $1 million, because one of you guys will give $1 million. And when you think about that, that's kind of overwhelming. Like, most people can't even make $1 million, right? How do you give $1 million, right? And so that really removes the limited beliefs of the world and says there is no ceiling, right? And that's kind of our goal now. Our goal is to figure out how are we going to produce enough volume so that I can give $1 million, right? And he made us read this book called Givers and Takers. And basically it's a book about who succeeds, givers or takers, and there's both theories on both sides. Well, it's really the guys who give, but give strategically, right? Give it in alignment with what your goal is. So obviously we're in real estate. We have these companies that downsize and declutter, and basically it was like, well, what can we do in that world? Where's the need? And what we found very quickly was the need is the older adult who is living in an environment that's not safe, right? It's either a hoarder, condo, a rental of some sort, maybe even a state housing, just in a bad environment. And they don't make enough money to be able to pay for these things themselves, but make too much money to get state and federal subsidy, right? It's this gap group. And this gap group is a group that is not touched and not heard of. But you open their front door, you'll see the world that they live in. Well, we do this all the time, and we get called by the Office of Public Guardian, the Elderly Affairs Division, Adult Protective Services. They all call us and say, can you help these folks? And because it was a for-profit business, we couldn't do it for free. And then it was really a calling on my wife and I's heart to say, what if we could be that solution? What if we could help a human being who's living in their home and they just don't, and it's not safe, and nobody's helping them? What if we could be that solution? We have the expertise to do it. We have the systems, tools, and models to do it. We're trained to do it, and nobody else is. And now we just need the money to do it, right? So we're going to put 10%, we're going to tie 10% of our incomes into Silver Spoons, which is our entity, nonprofit entity. And then we're going to write grants to get the state, federal, even our clients to donate to it, to pay for this care for people so they can do that and live in life in their own home with dignity. You know, as we get older, we collect a lot of stuff. And then what if happens somebody gets hurt, right? Well, you need 3 feet to get a walker in, right? You may need grab rail bars. You may need assist devices. You may need a ramp. We don't know, because that person has to live there, but they can't, right? And so our calling is to be able to provide that for free. I mean, provide that so that they can enjoy life and dignity and help this person live where they are, because right now nobody's helping them.
Yeah.
And it's not safe. And, the people the first responders, I talk to them and they tell me the same thing. It's just not safe. I go into homes, dude, there's newspaper to the ceiling, right? There's rats living on the table, and there's just so much stuff. You'll see dark lines along the wall. Well, that's where the rats crawl, because it's the oil from their skin that rubs against the wall. And it's like, it kills me. It just internally it hurts too much to watch this happen. And if I can be part of that solution, then I think that's why God's blessed all of our businesses, is to bless other people. And it's a calling that we are starting now. We just, last Friday, we got our notice from the IRS saying we're approved. So we can start raising funds. And like everything that I've done, I never knew how to do it. And this, I don't. So here's a call out. So if anybody's out there that can help me build and drive this, a nonprofit organization with our mission, I'd love help, because I honestly don't know what I'm doing. But I've never known what I was doing in any of these other things either. So what the heck? Yep.
Yeah. Well, you seem to be pretty brilliant at being able to jump in, connect the dots, and figure it out. So I'm sure it's going to be a massive success. So, a quick question going back to, I know you talked about, hey, we've got financial advisors and attorneys and other people calling us. Have those people come forth because they got wind of the services that you were doing, or were you very strategic about reaching out to them and saying, hey, here's what you're doing? And I mean, how did those relationships really come to fruition?
Both. One, because we're consistently been in the newspaper, and they read the newspaper, right? For 10 years we've been there, so they can't not know who we are. Two, we were very strategic. So the intentful portion was I had to figure out where they were and how to be there and to network with them. So I joined the Financial Planners Association. So it's a group of financial planners that show up. I'm the only realtor there that show up to these things. So I talk to people and people know who I am, and they ask me real estate questions, and I ask them if they want me to come over and share this to their client base, and that's how that's grown. And then we created this organization. It's a very loosely created, and I just kind of pulled it out of my butt basically, but it's called the Elder Advocate Association. The Elder Advocate Association is a group of people who help older people. So who's that? Well, wills and trust attorneys, CPAs, financial planners, private bankers. I gather the data of all those folks, and we touch them. And we invite them to an event. So the first event we did was last year, and I didn't know if anybody would show up, right? And it was in our office, and our office isn't that big. 50 people showed up, and it was really cool. And people would say, some of those advisors have referred business to us, so they know us. Others didn't, and then they would talk to the other guy about our services. So we're getting people lifting us up in front of others, right? And that's not us saying that, it's the third party, right? And so that was really helpful. We get business that way as well, and basically connect the dots with the people in the industry that are in touch with these people in need. Right? And the people with wealth, basically, right? The wealth advisors. So we intentfully set up 2 appointments a week with one of these people. And I have my assistant doing that. It's either coffee or lunch. And we just have lunch with them and find out, what do they do? What's their value proposition? Better understand their database and their clients, understand how they grow their business, and what kind of marketing strategies they use to grow their business, and then see if we can hop along with that to support it, and to be that value proposition that maybe their competition doesn't have. Right? So we come from contribution where, hey, Mr. Financial Planner, if you have older adults, would they be interested to learn this information? Right. Well, we can help you with that. Right. We can help you with that. And if you want to get them together, we'll come and share that information. No obligation, no cost. Would that be of interest? And they say yes. And that's how these things happen. Right. So very intentful. It's really not hard, to be honest with you. Though we've created a brand that I guess is more recognizable now after this time frame. So it's worked.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to, being so laser focused on the senior community, did this come to fruition really just from, that first seminar, or were there personal experiences that you had, in your young years, maybe growing up, seeing maybe your grandparents struggle, or something else that maybe, because man, I mean, you're one of the most passionate guys I think I've ever met, and you're so laser focused on this. I mean, is the passion just driven by your experiences in your real estate career, or has there been other life experiences that help drive this passion as well?
Yes and no. So my parents are older. They're 89 and 88 and 89. They're still healthy. So it's they've really never had a need. My dad still plays tennis 3 times a week, and he's a Iron Man. So it's not really from them. But my very first job out of high school, it was, ironically enough, it was at a state facility. It was a nursing home. And I got to tell you, it was a really tough experience. 18 years old, seeing these old people being strapped to wheelchairs, and some were screaming. I mean, it was just a really bad environment. And I said to myself, gosh, if there's a way, and this is at 18, if there's a way I can prevent anybody that I know to have to come here, I'm going to do it. And 40 years later, that's what I'm doing. It's funny how God works. It's like, but the hardest part, and I never really experienced death, early on. My parents are still alive. My grandma and grandpa passed when I was younger. But at that facility, and I call it a facility because it really is a care home, I met a guy, and, he's a quadriplegic. He was out drinking one night with his buddies. He got into a car accident, broke his neck. But just the most positive, carefree kind of guy. that was there. And so I'd see him every day. And I go to him and he'd tell me stories of the old days, and it was really cool. And then except for one day I go back and he's gone. And it kind of blew me away. It's like, wow, life is so precious. Like, it really made me start to think, like, I should be contributing to this world more, and I got to find ways to do that, right? And it cannot be about me. It's got to be about society and people. Of how do you help people who need something, right? They need care of some sort, and that's how it started working out. And then we started helping more and more older adults, and I just saw the need, and it's like there's more need than I can handle, right? And so now we have a team doing that. And even that, it's in Hawaii, there's about 1 million people, right? And right now there's about 20% of them are over 65. In the next 8 years, it'll be 25%. So you're looking at 250,000 people over the age of 65 are going to have some of these challenges, right? And I believe I'm called to be part of that solution, to help them out.
Yep.
You know, one thing that we didn't talk about, and real briefly is before you finish, is, you know, these 1031 exchange seminars. We've figured it out, and it's worked amazingly. So right now we get about as much business out of our 1031 exchange seminars as we do for our senior seminars. Right. So 40% of our business comes from seminars, and 20% of that through 1031 exchanges. Well, what we found is, how do you create a legacy with your real estate? So you have an older adult, say 65 to 85. They have these investment properties. They got 3 kids. Well, typically what happens is they're going to keep it in the trust, and the trust says everything is safe. Well, yeah, that's sort of true, except for the point after mom and dad pass away. What if the kids don't agree to the trust? Now you got family disputes. And those family disputes, there's way more of those than you can ever imagine. I had a family come to me, 6 kids, 5 of them show up. I asked, where's the other one? He said, I'm sorry, he can't come today because we have a restraining order on him. It's so bad. They started fighting. And so the solution is, or an opportunity could be, you have one large apartment building. Let's say it's a $2 million apartment building. You got 3 kids, right? And instead of dying and then having the trust liquidated, because there are many cases where the family may not agree to who sells it, when it's going to be sold, how it's going to be sold, if it's going to be sold. There's all this internal emotion that goes on at that point, and it can drive a wedge through families. And I see it every day where families are broken up because of money in real estate. So the solution is, or it could be, you sell this large asset and you say to the kids, while your mom and dad's alive, mom and dad can say to the kids, hey, you 3 kids, I'm going to do a 1031 exchange. This is part of your inheritance, okay? It won't be your inheritance until I pass away, though I'm going to let you pick through the replacement property. And the reason why that works is because in today's world, most families do not live in the same city. There are other cities. Well, where do they want their investment property? Probably where they are, where their kids are, right? They don't want it in another place where mom lives. So they sell a large asset. They say to the kids, we're going to execute a 1031 exchange. You're going to get, X amount each equally to spend. And here are the time frames. Here's how you execute it. Here's the people that can shepherd it and quarterback the whole thing. And it's going to stay in my name, and you get to select it. And the cool thing is you can buy up if you want. You can take a note out for the balance. You can buy up if you want, and you can do anything you want with it. I'm going to own it as a parent, and I get all the income. Right? But so let's say one of the kids needs a place to live, and say, I just stay there. Never mind. Right? It doesn't impact the family. Right? So this solution, we do a lot of it. I mean, I probably have 10 different ones all over the country now, because the kids, the older adult in Hawaii, their kids are somewhere else, right? Yeah. And the kids want it where their kids are, right? And then and it's a way to help people pass on legacy while they're alive, versus the old agent style was you hold everything till I die and then the kids can figure it out later. Well, that's where disputes come, right? And what's interesting is when I have this conversation, everybody shakes their head because everybody knows a family that's had a family dispute because of this situation. And so now we're doing a lot of these all over the country.
Yeah, it's so powerful too, because I've got 3 young kids and
right?
We all work so hard to create those legacies.
Right.
And the last thing we want to see is their relationship to be ripped apart. And we all know somebody
Right.
that we've seen it rip apart those relationships.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I can see the effectiveness of that, and I love it. So if you have $1 million, hey kids, you guys each get 330
Yep.
grand or whatever,
Yep.
Go identify the property. We'll buy it right now. We collect the rents, and then when I'm gone, that's yours. Yep. Love it.
Absolutely.
So I know that you mentioned that you also coach. Now, is that coaching teams that you have ownership in, or if anybody? I mean, we have a massive about 100,000 realtors that listen to this every single month. If is it something that anybody in the real estate industry can potentially reach out to and get coached by, or how does your coaching work?
Possibly. So I'm a MAPS coach. So
Okay.
I work, I'm an employee of MAPS. So I have 4 clients and through MAPS. Then I have my franchise in California that I coach as well. And then I'm an owner in Keller Williams on Maui, and I coach agents there as well as a group coaching. So for me, when Gary mentioned to us in one of our meetings, all of you guys had a coach. Most everybody was like cringing. I was thinking, oh, this is awesome, right? It's something I've never done before, and I know it's going to make me a better leader. And it absolutely has. And it's one of those things that gives me energy, So I'm looking forward to doing more of it. How that shows up, I'm not sure. But in the MAPS, I only coach agents over $30 million because they already have teams. I'm not teaching them scripts. I'm teaching them how to build a business, right? And how to strategize and be intentful on their business. So yeah, I love coaching. Still open to, what that could look like down the road.
Yeah.
I think the long-term vision is for me to do more of it because that's where my passion is. I've been able to grow some businesses and still growing some more. We started another company called Stage Hawaii as well. Help clients staging, obviously. And then we have 2 more companies we're building, Repair Hawaii and Clean Hawaii. So a handyman service and a cleaning service. That would complete our complete solution.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
now I love it. I mean, you're creating these new companies by just expanding your vertical of, hey, we already have these clients that need these services. How do we, so you become really a full-on concierge service, and it's just such a brilliant strategy. What's the best way, Dan, if those that are watching less than want to learn more about you, or maybe do qualify for coaching, where's the best way to learn more about you, to follow you? Where's the best place to do that?
We're building our website. It's iharateamhawaii.com. We're still building that. They can email me, and then we can put them into our database, and we'll touch them. And then they can, if they want to have a conversation further, they email me directly, and then we'll set up a time to have that call. My days are very structured. Everything is intentful. And I don't even run it. My assistant, Tanya, runs it, and she tells me when to show up and what to do. So I just follow her instructions. But basically, every minute of the day is kind of blocked out for at least a week to 2 weeks out.
Yeah, I love it. Well, you're so intentional, right, and so structured, but that's also what allows you to surf with your kids every single morning.
Yeah, that's in their calendar too.
Yep.
We call them board meetings.
Yep. That's awesome. So last question for you, because I know we got to get jamming here shortly. Knowing everything you know today, if you could go back and give yourself like 2 pieces of advice to yourself when you first started your career in 2005 that you feel would have fast forwarded all this success, what would those 2 pieces of advice look like?
Find somebody to mentor with early on that's highly successful, and learn everything they do. I was fortunate to be able to do that. But that was a huge plus. And then find a lever that you're passionate with. Find a lead lever that you can spend all your time at and not feel like it's work.
Yeah.
Right? Find a lead lever that you're passionate about.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Love it. Amazing stuff. Those that are watching and listening, I know I end every podcast with this, but information without implementation truly is the start of delusion. Information is not power. It's taking that information, taking action on it that creates power in your world. Dan shared so many amazing pieces of advice with you guys. Make sure that you take something that you learned from Dan today and take immediate action on it. Don't wait. Don't just let this information rattle in your brain and do nothing with it. Take action on it. Obviously, it's created massive, massive success for Dan and his real estate team. So again, thank you guys so much for watching and listening. Dan, I truly appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to be here, man. This has been a fun time and a huge honor.
Yeah, right on. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. All right, you guys, we will see you next time.
Take care. Aloha.